Hey everyone, I want to talk to you about CWD again. I had some new information come into me. Wow, you're going to enjoy this information. You won't believe what's going on. This information came into me a few days ago, and last night it starts I'm obsessing over it. I stayed awake till 4:30 a.m. I'm up at 6 a.m. working on this video today. It's just crazy. Here's what's going on. That Crow Wing County deer, I did a public data request. I want to know what's going on. I don't want to deal in rumors. So I did a public data request and I have it back. Okay, but before I tell you about what I see in this public data request, I'm going to share something with you. Last Thursday, I went to the state capitol to testify on behalf of deer farms and try to present something logical against Jamie Becker Finn and her willingness to just ignore science. Just ignore everything, present her case, and move forward to wipe out deer farms. So while talking down there, she got a chance to testify as well. And she's telling us that she researched and she's done her homework. So play the sound clip.
Believe me, I have read more articles and more science on this, and I would not in any way mean to say something that isn't fact. To me, this is all about science, and the science is that we know that other prion diseases have spread to humans. We know that some scientists are telling us to be concerned. We know that even more scientists are telling us the risk is there, so don't eat the meat. But to be clear, there have been no confirmed cases where they've been able to prove that it was from eating infected venison.
Okay. She's building herself up as an expert. In the room, while she's building herself up to be an expert to testify, is Lou Cornicelli. He's in the room sitting off to the side. He's drawing a wage from the state. He's our state biologist, I believe, Dr. Lou Cornicelli. She doesn't have him come testify. What is going on? Well, my last video I said he doesn't have any credibility. Maybe the state's starting to figure that out. Maybe they are. Okay. She's an expert. And then she goes on to tell us how bad this disease is, and she even implies that it's going to go to people, in contradiction of good science. This disease is bad. Listen to what she says.
And you know, a common question I assume someone may ask is, you know, can humans get, you know, be infected? What we do know is that for a very long time, it's been recommended that people do not eat meat that's infected with chronic wasting disease. There have been no human cases of the disease at this point, but some disease specialists believe that that's just a matter of time. It's particularly difficult to contain it. You can't bleach it off of a surface. You can't, if I threw it in just a normal like fire, it wouldn't die. It also remains in the environment. Prions bring up some really unique circumstances in the way that we have to contain it, because we can't just bleach it off, or, you know, it won't just die. It will continue to maintain in soils in the environment. It's a particularly difficult disease to contain, you know, more difficult than some of the other diseases that we maybe have had to work with.
So I know this disease is bad. It can't be killed with bleach. I'm going to accept her at her word for that. Fire, it won't be destroyed. It's going to be in the soil forever. Bad stuff. What did I find out on my public data request? Well, here it is. I'm going to put it on the screen. I could talk about this data request for an hour of things that I have a problem with, okay? And we're going to cut right to the chase, and you can read the whole thing. I'm going to leave it up here. But here's where I have a problem, okay? How was the carcass stored after the samples were collected? Look down here in the bottom. It says carcass was placed in a dumpster for landfill disposal. So they took the sample. On a data request, you'd expect names, you'd expect dates, you'd expect times, right? I mean, what's the level of proof? To prove that these results in this data request give them the right to pursue wiping out deer farms. Some of you could care less, I understand that, and mass slaughtering of all your deer. Mass slaughtering. How many deer are we going to kill? So, what's the level of proof? In a criminal case, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. Jury has to convict, or a judge. High level, beyond a reasonable doubt. What is the level in a civil case? Well, it's 51%. More likely than not, yeah, okay, they did it, civilly, you're sued, you have to pay. What's the burden of proof for them to come out and destroy hundreds of family farms and for them to destroy all of your deer in your woods? Do you think it should be civil or criminal? What's the level of proof? So in this data request, you know what we find? It's so full of holes, it's not even funny. One issue I got to add, the sample that was submitted, collected by Crow Wing County, was sent in with other hunt samples in the same box. I challenge anybody, talk to any cop you know, talk to them about a case that they've worked on and ask them if they can send in a DNA sample in a box to the BCA lab with other DNA samples and see if that doesn't get kicked out of court. I think it would. There's evidence collection protocols that the DNR, they're illiterate, they don't even know. So on this data request, you know what I find out? They don't really want to tell me much of anything, but let's look at what we got. The carcass, back to that. What happened to the carcass? Okay, the carcass was placed in a dumpster for landfill disposal. Upon contacting the assistant area wildlife manager, he checked the dumpster and the deer was still there. When did they contact him? You know what I think? I don't think they contacted him about the carcass until they got my data request. That's what it seems to say. They won't tell me a date and time. They're being evasive. Then it says someone from the Wildlife Health Program went to Brainerd and retrieved the carcass. Someone. How would that go in a court trial? Someone went and got it. Yep, someone. Okay. It was then delivered to the University of Minnesota for necropsy. The carcass was digested at the University of Minnesota's alkaline digester. Why isn't any of that stuff that they just said there included in their timeline? See the timeline above here? The 4th, 8th, the 14th, 14th, 15th, and then you'll notice the officer's report. When was that written? February 25th. Well, that was written after my data request. Or about, yeah, okay. Wow. So, let's talk about it going in the dumpster. What does Jamie Becker-Finn talk about how bad CWD is? I know it's bad. I don't want it, but she's sensationalizing. Listen to the sound clip.
It's particularly difficult to contain it. You can't bleach it off of a surface. You can't, if I threw it in just a normal fire, it wouldn't die. It also remains in the environment. Prions bring up some really unique circumstances in the way that we have to contain it, because we can't just bleach it off, or it won't just die. It will continue to maintain in soils, in the environment. It's a particularly difficult disease to contain, more difficult than some of the other diseases that we maybe have had to work with.
It can't be killed with bleach. You can't kill it with fire. It's staying in the soil forever. It's going to be there. And they put it in a dumpster. And you and your kids could drop off a bag of garbage, maybe, I don't know whose dumpster, what dumpster, okay, but it's in a dumpster, and that's going to go to the landfill. Most of the landfills, I think, a lot of them are city-owned or county-owned. Do they know? I don't know what the protocols are on this, so I called our local landfill manager. I said, can I bring a carcass in for dumping? He said, you could bring a dog or a cat or even a roadkill deer, we'd take it. I said, oh, you would? Yep. Okay, you have problems with scavenging? Yeah, we do. Eagles, turkey vultures, ravens, seagulls galore. They've gotten permits to kill seagulls. Seagulls are carrying everything off, but the turkey vultures are carrying much more off. Well, I said, you're approved to take deer. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. I said, oh, let me change something for you here. Let me change something. And he said, what? I said, what if the deer had CWD? He said, well, I don't know. I've never been asked that question before. Okay, so under 116.06, subdivision 11, you can read it. We'll put it on the screen here. But it says, if you read the print at the very end, it says if it causes damage or potential hazard to human health or the environment when improperly treated, transported, or disposed of, it's hazardous material. Wait a minute. If it has a present or potential hazard to human health or the environment when improperly treated. So according to Jamie Becker-Finn, It's in the soil forever, you can't get rid of it. And it's going to negatively impact the environment. Well, where should this go? Well, let's read what they did here. I think it's after, because they didn't put the date on there, so I'm going to go with that. They brought it to the University of Minnesota's alkaline digester. But if I wouldn't have done a data request, where would it have gone? It looks like it would have went to the landfill. And they're like, oh, we better do something with that. That looks bad. We're trying to outlaw deer farmers and get them double fences and do all this stuff. And we're not taking care of our own problem. We're so busy picking on the deer farmers, we're just going to not even take care of our own problems. We're asking for more money, but we don't have protocols in place. So I asked him another question. Is it protected from scavenging from wild animals? What's the answer? The deer was in the dumpster for landfill disposal, which is an acceptable form of disposal. You know, I think that's probably true until you know it has CWD. And as soon as it has CWD, I think it's then classified as hazardous material, and the DNR has been dumping these where? So I put a call in to Dr. Jeremy Sheffer at the Minnesota Diagnostic Lab. I know he's busy, and I wanted to find out. When did this deer show up there to be put into their alkaline digester? I haven't been able to talk to him yet. But how many deer have been found in Minnesota with CWD? How many? Do you think that the University of Minnesota took is there about 40 CWD cases in the state? Do you think they've digested all 40 of them? Man, I'd like to know. And I'm gonna wait to hear back from Dr. Jeremy Sheffer, and if I hear differently, I'll edit the top of this video. Right now, where are the deer going? So, last question I asked, I would like a copy of the policy that game wardens or the DNR have in place to deal with and dispose of deer with CWD. Guess what they said on that one? Nothing. They didn't answer it. So these poor game wardens work for an administration. They're asked to go out and deal with, I'm going to call it hazardous material, and they don't have a policy in place for what they're supposed to do with them. Just use your own judgment. You know, you get it, just put it in a dumpster. That'd be good. Haul it to the landfill. I asked my guy at the landfill, if you knew it had CWD, would you take it? No. No, he said, I won't. The county and the city-owned landfills have a right to reject it. So here's the question. If this CW deer meets the requirements for hazardous material and they send them there, well, it says they do, it's an acceptable form of disposal. If it meets the requirement under 11606 subdivision 11 as hazardous material, according to Jamie Becker-Finn, you can't kill it with fire. You can't kill it with bleach. It's going to be in the soil forever. Did they violate state law? Is our DNR violating state law by sending CWD-infected deer to the landfill? That's my question. Think I'll ever get an answer? People, guess what? What's the burden of proof? What is the burden of proof? Criminal cases, beyond a reasonable doubt. You got a loved one that's being charged with murder, you might want to know for a fact they did it before they send them to prison forever. If you get sued for a lot of money, it's 51%. Okay? But in CWD, wrecking hundreds of family farms and wiping out all the deer in the state, they can take that sample, stick it in with other samples, cram them all into a box, send them off to a lab. Yeah, we're good to go. That would never fly in a criminal case. It wouldn't do it. They can wait to write a report. The call comes in. What was the date? I'm sorry, this game warden's probably a fantastic guy. Call comes in on 1/23/19. His report was last updated 2/25/19. He can wait a full month to write his report. And then what did he do with the deer? I brought the deer to the DNR Wildlife Office and left it in front of the outside Wildlife Office door as per her instructions. He left it laying outside the door. An infectious deer. Poor guy. His agency will not give him a policy. I asked for a policy. I don't have one here. I don't have a policy present, a protocol for what to do with these animals. Who's running the DNR? Who's in charge? They don't have a policy to deal with infectious material. They're leaving their game wardens out to dry. They're just hanging them out there, letting them look stupid. We need some leadership in the DNR, and we need the DNR to worry about its own herd and worry about what it needs to do better. They need to worry about their own stuff and quit picking on deer farms and figure out how to save Minnesota's deer from a mass execution. So what's the burden of proof? What is it, criminal or civil? Or lower? Well, I think it seems to be that Jamie Becker-Finn, she read a bunch of stuff online, educated herself, passed some laws, and Lou Cornicelli said so. I'm sorry, there really is no burden of proof. We just listen to what a couple people say, and we start killing deer farms and killing deer.